Your fund is recognized as one of the pioneers promoting pension fund investments across Africa. In fact, we heard reference to Botswana this morning in the in the opening speeches, plenary speeches. Is a pioneer and allocating 14%, the highest on the continent for investments across Africa. Tell us about your strategy and recommendations on how other pension funds can work together, how they can collaborate. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. As it has been mentioned, we are a Botswana-based pension fund, and we are a DC fund for that matter, with a total asset base of around 34 billion pula, which is around $4 billion US. We are invested in across traditional assets in the form of in developed markets, emerging markets, and in Africa as a whole. We are working within a parameter of 70-30. That is because of the infancy of our market. Our government and the regulator found it necessary that we should be able to be allowed to invest in the international arena. And in that regard, we are working within 70-30 parameters. That is 70 for international investment and 30% for the local market. But that notwithstanding, as and when opportunity arises within the local market for all asset classes or of investment vehicles, we are continually disinvesting in the international arena and reinvesting in the local market. However, it is important to know that in 2010, we took a deliberate decision that we should focus on what we term alternative investments. This includes private equity, infrastructure, property, and hedge funds. And we allocated a total of 14% of asset under management to be invested in this category of asset classes. It has been a very daunting journey because first we had to start with the policies and outlook as to what we really wanted. And the basis of our investment philosophy was that we had been criticized that we have exported most of the capital outside the economy. And as such, there is no meaningful involvement as an institutional investor that we are impacting within our local economy. And hence the development of these policies. And having said that, there has been very, measurable, traction in that regard. For starters, we started rolling out this program in 2011, first with the deployment of capital into the private equity space, where we had to appoint, private equity professionals, and we allocated the tune of about 500 million pula as a starting point. It is on a revolving basis. And we are currently, once we finish investing in this asset class, now we'll be taking, the next step would be to expose our funds into infrastructure. And we are currently considering some value propositions from the regional infrastructure practitioners in the likes of Harad and the PIDF capital funding 2, which unfortunately we missed the first capital funding in PDF1, which has been mentioned earlier by Mr. Wells. And our view has always been that now that we have this daunting requirement as institutional investors within the continent, what is it that we are doing that could actually impact in Africa and our economy in general? We are of the view that these asset classes would invariably do that for us. And to demonstrate our commitment into Africa, on the traditional asset side, we have exposed close to about 835 million pula in the African stocks exchanges. That includes South Africa, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya, and our stock exchange invariably. So in a brief moment, I think what the story that I want to tell you is that we are really committed as an institutional investor in Botswana for investment in investing in Africa for 2 or 3 reasons. The first reason is that we perceive or we view Africa to be having strong economic growth prospects, and the market reforms that have been taking place in the African continent, support the case for investing in Africa. The second point is that the overpriced risks in most African economies offer us an opportunity, and any other investor for that matter, to make good returns in their investment over the short, the medium to long term periods. The third point is that the increased need for non-government economic participants to contribute to the economic growth of our countries, serves as a compelling reasons why we should invest in Africa. And as pension funds in the African continent, we are of the view that we should, as institutional investors, be exemplary in our endeavor in investing in Africa, because it is only the African capital that could work for Africa, despite other institutional investors coming from other regions coming to partake in our own backyard. So, Mr. Chairman, I would stop as far.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.